The intention of my meditation is to celebrate your individual self, your preferences, increase your capacity to embody your most liberated and authentic self in the safeness of your own subconscious, your own dream place. Hello and welcome to the Stoner Story Witch. My name is Kristyn, and I'm so grateful to be recording and editing this podcast on the lands of the Chorotega people, colonially known as Costa Rica. Today's podcast is the third podcast in this Dream Place, Dream Productions mini season that I'm doing. And I remember hearing some quote that went something like, "Spiritual encounters always happen by accident, but practice can make one accident prone." So all that to say, we are actually what we practice. And so whatever it is that we practice, it is my hope that we are choosing them consciously and intentionally. And I also want to offer another quote, which is really, I guess, more of a definition that I have heard regarding witchcraft or magic. And it's that it's the ability to shift one's consciousness at will. And so I think both of these quotes keep coming to me as I've been dreaming up this podcast series to actually get this meditation out into the world. But I want to be crystal clear that I am not a hypnotherapist. However, I have done many trance journeys with Carmen Spaniola on the Numinous Network. And so I will refer you there first and foremost if you would like to learn more about the psychoeducation, or you just want to have access to a larger library of meditations and hypnotherapy. Most of my experience of being guided through altered states of consciousness are with not just Carmen Spaniola, but also a little bit with Sarah Faith Gottesdiener, which is the Moon Studio, as well as Chani Nicholas on the Chani Astrology app. All three of them identify as witches, and I know for sure Carmen and Sarah are certified hypnotherapists, which of course I am not. But today's episode is going to be the intro to this Dream Place meditation. And I guess I should say that I may end up using the words meditation, trance, and hypnosis pretty interchangeably in today's episode. And while I've had several years' experience of shifting my consciousness through similar practices and over a year of guiding my family in guided meditations, this podcast really is about me reaching for secure attachment. That is being safe, seen, secure, and soothed with my kids. That is offering a sense of being safe, seen, secure, and soothed for my kids in the event that I, or when I die. You can listen to season 3, episode 1 for more on that. That is the memento mori of what this season is all about. But anyway, the purpose of today's episode is to give you, listener, information about this meditation and share a little bit about my journey of practicing shifts of consciousness. So I think of today's episode a little bit as like the small print on the medicine bottle, or like that really fast talking at the end of a pharmaceutical ad. I was thinking I wrote up one, what would that be for this series? And I would say this podcast is for entertainment purposes and in no way should replace the care of a certified health or spiritual care practitioner. You are your own expert, period. You are enough and you are worthy. If at any point in the meditation you feel distressed, you should stop. Hey, you belong. If you feel overwhelmed, stop. You can say yes to this if you wish, and you can say no when you want to say no. The intention of this practice is liberation. And so about liberation, at the end of all my podcasts, I try to always remember to include Rev Angel Kyoto Williams' quote, "Love and justice are not two. Without inner change, there can be no outer change, and without collective change, no change matters." So this offering, this practice, is to help resource ourselves for the inner change. That is the love and the justice for our forgotten or our abandoned parts, and about stepping into our authenticity. What are our needs? What are our wants, our desires, and our preferences for the sake of the outer change that's going to fuel collective change? So, if nothing else, it is my hope that this meditation helps you practice radical rest. Tricia Hersey of the Nat Ministry and Audre Lorde talk a lot about rest as resistance. They're like the ones that come to the forefront of my mind when I think of like radical self-care and political warfare. And I just need to name them, as well as other women of the global majority like Dr. Rocio Rosales Mesa, Rev. Angel Kyoto Williams, Adrienne Marie Brown, and Toy Smith, who have taught and reminded me countless times that everyone is worthy of rest and self-care. And if nothing else, it's my hope that this meditation can help you practice radical rest. Period. All right, like everything though, you can get out what it is that you put in. And like everything, any practice you have is going to be amplified with an intention, right? And of course, the more you practice. So let this meditation be a practice ground in the spiritual realm in service of collective liberation, so that we can be embodied resistance to fascism as we collectively imagine and co-create the world that we would prefer in the physical material realm. And I also just want to name another woman of the global majority, Dana Lynn Nichols is the People's Oracle. I heard her define liberation as collective imagination. And like, what else is a dream place for, if not for us to be like practicing imagining as a collective for like what is the world that we want to reach towards. Anyway, all right. I have a curiosity real quick though, a question for you. What do you practice before you go to bed, before you go to sleep at night? I want to remind you that the origins of this meditation were helping my children who, at the time that it began, had been experiencing some nightmares. And the prompt was that I would bring them to their dream place so that they could practice having the dreams they wanted instead of those they don't. That I would help them create like a dream that they would want before I leave. And that it really seemed to help their anxiety. And I've learned from Carmen Spaniola in various offerings that she does on the Numinous Network that our subconscious is especially receptive in the 30 minutes before we go to sleep. So while this meditation has historically been about practicing safety, security, and soothing to my children, I just want to name that we're all practicing and reinforcing our subconscious, whatever it is that our nighttime rituals or practices are. And so I'm just asking, like, what do you practice? And what is your intention with that practice? How might this meditation be a resource to you in whatever practices you have, in whatever intention you have in the service of liberation? Just a quick little overview about what this meditation is I'm going to cue you in inviting you to think about traveling down a staircase or a ramp. And that as you're traveling down, I'll be cueing you to relax your body, relax your mind. And at the bottom of this staircase or ramp, there's a doorway into a nature place. And in that nature place, you're going to meet a competent protector. And then you'll travel with that competent protector to a dream place. And at the very, very end, I will do some very, very light cueing to bring you back into waking consciousness. But it's going to be very subtle because, again, the purpose of this meditation has been to bring people to sleep. However, I'm putting this podcast out there into the world, and maybe there are some people that might want the flexibility of like doing it to just kind of almost take like a little nap. And then at the end, you want to be done. And so I want to kind of as much as possible have it be a choose your own adventure and providing some light cueing for that. So, and I don't know if listeners respond and want me to give slight variations that would help one way or the other. I'm open to that. But I just want to stick to like, okay, this is for my kids, and what I am producing is as much as possible what it is that I'm doing for my kids, as a part of their nightly dream place meditation. Okay. Um, a couple of just things that I just feel like I want to share. Just in lieu of the fact that I'm not a hypnotherapist, I just want to make sure that people know what they're getting into and have a little bit of information. I think that that will just, it'll help me feel like I'm doing a good job of taking care of people that are just dabbling in this meditation. And then also just help you feel more comfortable and more confident about what to expect. So this is the biggest source that I can cite for this is Carmen Spagnola and the work that I've done with her on the Numinous Network. And I could have gotten some things wrong because I misremembered. And so like, I'm sorry in advance for any like little things that I might have gotten wrong. But what I do know is that your subconscious does a really good job of protecting you. That there is nothing that I could say in a meditation that would be able to change the core of who you are or to cause you to do something that you wouldn't do if you were unaided by hypnosis. Your subconscious just won't allow it. That we often think, when we think of hypnosis, we often think of like those people that can get hypnotized on stage and then like start quacking like a duck. But and I don't remember exactly like the quote, but I think there's something that it's people who can do that are considered rapidly suggestible, and they often have a correlation with higher degrees of exhibitionism, which is just a way of saying that people who are highly suggestible to that type of hypnosis are the type of people that are just more likely to enjoy being the life of the party and seeking attention and acceptance in that kind of way. It's like you're maybe like lowering their inhibition, but like it's still at the core that it's just like like an unveiling of like that authentic self underneath, that it's like the person that's doing that is not like a person that would never do that. If it's like they would just have to feel really comfortable, if that makes any sense. Okay, so like if you are like worried about you doing something, I mean, only if that's the most authentic expression of who you are. um, but I guess I will say kind of on on that note, that even if my meditation could force you to do something that like you would otherwise not consent to, that like, to be transparent, like the intention of my meditation is to help you relax. It's to help you potentially connect to a competent protector, to create a setting, a story, some characters, and to have an experience where you can either, in the words of Dream Productions from in my episode 2, you can either escape or have a dress rehearsal. But the purpose is to just be tracking your body, noticing any micro relaxations, like what deeper breaths you might be having, any slightly increased salivation, any loosening of tension, maybe even like a burp, things like this. Like, again, just radical rest. If nothing else, like if nothing else, just start with like, this is just me resting. So you really cannot do this wrong. You cannot, like, there's no wrong way to meditate, to do a meditation like this. I want to just say that most people can't actually visualize in a trance state in the same way that we can as a dream. So like, let's just like set down the expectation that that's what this will be. It can be, it could be, but like, if that's what you want, great. And if that's not what you want, it's not, like, again, your subconscious will protect you. The meditation can actually be pretty mental. It might feel like maybe you're just like listening to an audiobook or maybe watching a movie. Maybe it'll feel like you're reading a book, actually. It's okay for it to kind of feel however it feels and for it to be a little bit more mental than visual. My intention as I was writing and guiding this meditation is to just help my kids feel secure attachment with themselves, with the spirit world, with me, for them to practice feeling the sensations and emotions in their body of being so loved by their family and to feel so beloved on the earth, which is a quote that I will be saying in the meditation. And I'll just cite that it comes from Raymond Carver's poem, Late Fragment, which just reads, "And did you get what you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth." So, if nothing else, that's what we're doing here, folks. But again, your subconscious will protect you. It's really good at that. If any of this is outside your tolerance, your subconscious won't accept it. And this includes like the idea of secure attachment. I am trying to, in the meditation, presence, security, and my own sense of bringing my best foot forward as a competent protector, as a loving parent. And depending on just your own state, because again, attachment is a state, not a trait. So if you're kind of going through like a really disorganized moment, or you're super like, it's possible that you might have like oh no, I don't want to listen to this. You might have a negative reaction to it, and just listen to it. Just stop. Like, do not push past signs of distress. Like, do not should yourself into doing this. That is the opposite of what we're going for, folks. Okay. So, yeah, while I say that this is a practice to become accident prone, I do also want to leave us open to the possibility that ancestors and spirit guides can make themselves known to us once we get to our dream place. But again, only if you want that. Okay. So I have intentions and I have boundaries that I lay out with my competent protector. And some days it's different than others, right? I only am ever inviting in my well enough ancestors to pop in for a visit, for example. And your competent protector is just that. They are very competent at protecting your boundaries in the spirit world. So get really clear. If you're worried about what might happen, just get really clear in your own mind of like what do you consent to be open to? And your subconscious will like keep that in mind, will enforce it through your competent protector. A little bit about a little bit more about just transparency of what I'm about, and a little note on repetition. So even though your subconscious will protect you from acute overwhelm in this meditation, it's important to note that the subconscious really loves repetition. And over time, repeated phrases can gain power. All right. I again want to just refer you to Carmen Spaniola and her body of work about hypnotherapy and high risk groups and cults and fascism. And like, I just want to name that the current president of the United States has absolutely weaponized a hypnotic repetition of certain phrases and words and just the cadence of his speech. And it is just right out of a cult and fascist playbook. And we just got to name that. Over time, the repetition of his speech becomes comfortable. His following grows, and anyone who individuates or resists the hive mind of that group is then like paradoxically labeled a sheep, and it is a predicament. And fuck that. The intention of my meditation is to celebrate your individual self, your preferences, increase your capacity to embody your most liberated and authentic self in the safeness of your own subconscious, your own dream place. Okay? This also means that if at any time, again, I cannot stress this enough, if at any time you want to stop, you should. Let me should you into stopping if you want to stop. Please stop. Your power to say no, your ability to change your mind is so important. And I would be delighted if you use my meditation as a place to practice your actually, no thanks, or fuck off. Like, honestly, I welcome it. It's in the service of liberation. And if that's what you need to be practicing in the spirit world so that you can get better at it in the physical world, fuck yeah, let's do it. All right. I also just want to name here that I am a very privileged white lady And while it is my hope that any folks who hold more marginalized identities as me would feel safe, seen, secure, and soothed during my meditation, I am still a product of my socialization and my conditioning. And I am not, nor have I ever lived in any body that wasn't mine, at least that I can remember. So I cannot know how my meditation is going to land in anyone's body, but especially those that hold more marginalized identities than me in these overlapping systems of oppression that we live in. So again, you can be in a practice of telling a white lady to fuck off if that's what you want to practice, and I would consider it to be an honor to be somebody that you could do that practice with. Um, if I do happen to say something that just is very, I don't know, insensitive or just does not honor your experience, and you actually want to metabolize that anger a little bit and share what it is you didn't like in an email or to my Substack, stonerstorywitch@gmail.com. And my link to my Substack is in the show notes. I will graciously receive your feedback as the labor of love that it is. And I just want to name that I'm really sorry to people of the global majority that you have to teach white people like me how to treat you. And maybe, like, if you're worried about it, maybe like that's a sign that this meditation, like, I can't promise. I did my best. I did my best to write something that I felt would be really good. But I can't know what might activate someone. And just by virtue of who I am and what I'm trying to do, I could see that potentially being activating. So, I'm going to have a stretch. Okay. Throughout the meditation, my cues are going to be pretty invitational, like fairly passive. I will say things like, I wonder if you would like to, or what would happen if, or you could if you like, as I'm, inviting in more things. I will just be asking questions to help you build a beautiful place in nature that would just be your ideal place to feel connected to the cosmos and to connect with your competent protector. And I will do the same once you get to the dream place, pretty much. Um, Things that you might expect physically during the meditation. You might experience like a fluttering of your eyes. In some cases, when your body gets really relaxed, you might even have like almost a sense of paralysis. But it also might just feel like you're just resting your eyes and you're fully able to like scratch your nose. If you think about, I wonder if I can scratch my nose. Like, I also just want to say you can do this meditation with your eyes open. Um, the recommendation would just be to kind of cast your gaze downward, like kind of if you imagine like the horizon, like just kind of under the horizon line. You can also listen to this while doing dishes. Maybe the first time you listen to it, you want to listen to it while doing dishes, and then you can listen to it again while you're like sitting down with your eyes open. Like you can listen to this as many times as you want. It's going to be there. Um, but however, just to be sure, please don't listen while driving or doing anything where a deep state of relaxation might threaten your safety or anyone else's safety. Okay, I feel like I've mentioned competent protector a few times, so I want to take a moment and just talk about the competent protector. A competent protector is someone who loves you unconditionally, someone you have an uncomplicated relationship with, somebody that you will practice potentially receiving that contact nutrition, the kind eyes, the emotionally resonant vocal prosody at a distance away from you that feels good for you. So it could be all the way, maybe the closest they ever get is like across a river, or maybe like right next to you with their arm draped around you. This person might be somebody that you actually knew in your real life or know in your real life. They might be a fictional character. Um, It'd be fun if they were a person, but they could also be an animal. If in sometimes even like a rock or a tree can be a competent protector. So like, again, there's like no wrong way to do this. A fun fact, the whole reason, I guess maybe I shouldn't say the whole reason, but like the biggest reason that I can point to actually for season 1 of the podcast being about Little Women was that around the time that I was like kind of trying to just like really just trying to do episode one of the podcast, Marmy had come to me as a competent protector during that time. And she was just like such a great competent protector, that I was just like spending a lot of time with her in like the spirit world. And then I was like, you know what? Little Women is a great story. Let's just have that be season one. So anyway, I also just want to invite in a question and a practice of discernment as we're talking about competent protectors. Again, I recognize that my white body has been conditioned to see women of the global majority as competent protectors in a way that is extractive and exploitative. Even though my dream place is just in my mind, and even though we can believe that we are all connected and that spiritually we are all the same, the reality is that in this lifetime, in this moment, and in my body, I carry a lot of privilege. And I want to invite my fellow white bodied folks to explore whether there's another white bodied folk that they could practice receiving care from in this competent protector relationship. And again, if not, then you can think of an animal or a tree or a rock. I will just share that like over the years of me doing a practice like this, like I have had people of the global majority come in when I'm like being cued to like find a competent protector. And again, this has been under the guidance of Carmen Spaniola. And so I will just like name that like the discernment practice here is one that I have learned in the Numinous Network. So like while I absolutely love Adrienne Marie Brown, Rev Angel Kyoto Williams, Dr. Rocio Rosales Mesa. And while I've actually been in online spaces where they have been a teacher or a guide of mine, when they have come to me in my meditations as a competent protector, I instead will take the moment to thank them for their work and their example, but then I invite them to rest so that my subconscious can practice not relying on the emotional labor of women in the global majority. And just another, consideration for any male listeners I might have. I wonder if you might work towards thinking of a competent protector of being a man that you can practice receiving this type of care from and not a woman. And again, like to be clear, I'm not telling you what to do. Like there is so much nuance. There's like I will ultimately just trust your discernment. I'm just inviting the question. You are not a bad person if, especially early on, the only characters or real life people are those that might hold more marginalized identities than you, right? Like women if you're a man, or people of the global majority if you're white. But then my next question is, I wonder what you could offer them in order to be in reciprocity or in right relationship. So this could mean that like in your nature place, in your dream, in the spiritual world, you make them an offering. And in the real world, maybe you actually like monetarily subscribe to their Patreon or their Substack or take their course or whatever. And the more you practice the meditation, the more you can be practicing secure attachment in your life. And I hope that you can find other people and other competent protectors that might just kind of like slip in now and again. I just want to name, like, Marmy didn't come to me as a competent protector until after I had done this practice for a few years. So in the words of Rev Angel Kyoto Williams, like, it is a journey, not a destination. It's a practice, not a perfect. All right. Now I will walk you through the outline, and I really, really do believe that your subconscious could enjoy some of my tips, tricks, anecdotes, that I won't really be explaining in the meditation itself, but it's my hope that by you listening to this and considering it, you might be able to go deeper. All right. The first thing being just like have like a meditation intention, like going into it. Like again, I would like the first couple of times I would say, I just want to relax. Just have your very first intention be to relax. But maybe over time, it might be connecting with a certain, well ancestor, or maybe, just practice exploring your creativity. Like there's all sorts of things. Again, this is just your practice playground. Um, I'll invite you to relax your body, inviting tension to like melt away, to notice your body. Um, I I may be doing like a little bit of vocalization through sighing because I have found that the prosody of sighing actually helps my kids calm down before bedtime. And this is ultimately, again, a recording of a meditation that I do for my kids. So I will be keeping some of that. And I also just want to name that I use sighing or sound sometimes as an anchor, uh, which is a way that I can consciously amplify or cancel something I don't like when I'm actually in trance. So, like maybe I say something that you particularly enjoy, but again, maybe even something you dislike, you can just actually release a little moan or sigh to either like cancel or amplify what it is I'm saying. So, like, I'll ask you like I might ask you like, how does it feel to walk with your feet on the earth? And if you're like, oh my gosh, I can like imagine that and like the thought and image or feeling or whatever it is you're experiencing, it just is so good. You might even just like, oh, like just like a little like, oh, a little vocalization. Um, but maybe you don't like that prompt. I can imagine that like if somebody is disabled or, otherwise unable to walk in the moment, there could be some really understandable big feelings about the ableism of that prompt. And maybe you might just do like a mm, kind of noise to just be like, no, that I don't like that prompt. Um, so it can be a different vocalization. It could be like the type of vocalization doesn't matter, but the idea is that like you can, even if you are like just laying down, like, can you still be in a practice of like vocalizing, like, yes, I like this, or no, I don't. Um, and again, at any time, please stop if you want to stop. So after we relax the body, we kind of continue down the staircase where we will relax the mind. I will cue a control room of the mind with different dials that I might say, if there's certain dials you want to turn down or certain dials you want to turn up to just kind of like help you get into a state. If you're going into it being like, oh, I don't like, again, I'm kind of cueing this for myself. Sometimes I have trouble tuning down like the intrusive thoughts or like what am I going to buy at the grocery store tomorrow, like like your grocery list comes up or whatever, so it's like, oh, maybe there's a grocery list knob that I'm inviting you to turn down as much as you want to turn it down. In the control room of the mind, I'm also going to offer you to do a physical anchor, and I find physical anchors can also be really helpful in amplifying what you like. But I'm actually going to offer it here, just again, in my own experience and with my children too. Sometime like that, it hasn't been a problem lately because I taught them this anchoring thing, which is if you have oh my gosh, I need to remember this thing for tomorrow, right? Like a thought of a thing you need to remember. Um, you can have a physical anchor. It could be something just as simple as like clenching your toes or maybe like just pursing your lips or like touching your finger to your thumb, like a super super small, just a little twitch or a twitch or touch that you can do in your body, that you can assign in that moment, so that if during the dream place you just have some, even though you're turning down whatever dials you might have turned down, or maybe you don't turn them down and I don't, whatever, like a thought or a reminder, oh, I need to remember to email so and so back, like you can go to your physical anchor, you can do that touch or that twitch, and I will cue that to then be when you're coming back up into that control room, you're releasing those dials, and then whatever it is that came to you then, it's just a way of being like your body will remember, like your subconscious will remember you're doing this anchor. So I mean, it's worked for me that like when I'm like, ooh, or like, oh, this cool thing is happening and I don't want to forget it or whatever. Like, I just want to like, be able to remember this feeling. I can do this like little physical anchor. And then when I'm finished with my meditation and maybe I'm journaling, I then it's almost like my brain is going through like the bookmarks or something. It's like, I'm just kind of bookmarking it. Um, and again, like it gets easier with practice, but like there's nothing's going to be so huge that comes up to you here in this meditation that like you won't be able to remember it when you come back out. And also, if you need to stop, stop. Okay. So then we turn down the dials of the mind. We continue down that corridor or down that ramp, that stairwell. And then at the bottom of that stairwell, you walk through this doorway that brings you into this beautiful place in nature where you're going to meet your competent protector. You're just going to kind of attune to this like naturescape. And I will just say that like whatever naturescape you create, I don't know that I'll say it much in the meditation, but like you are allowed to make things that are like physically impossible. Like you can have, you know, plants and animals and different like landforms that like would never actually like do not actually like all coexist in the same spot. Like I invite you to make it as wild. Like I've had like waterfalls that have just like been falling out of the clouds and like into the ocean. And it's like waterfalls don't just fall out of clouds into the ocean. Like that doesn't actually happen like in the real world. But if we turn up like the imagination and the creativity, like anything's possible. So um like just let it just be whatever just feels like, ooh, that's fun. Like just like let it be fun, let it be playful, let it be what it is. I will at various times like ask you, you can amplify what it is you like or lessen anything that you don't. Um, I invite you to do that here. So again, you're spending time in this beautiful place in nature, acknowledging the land. You're meeting the competent protector here. Um, and then the invitation is to go to the dream place where then you will travel kind of through like a beam of light where I'll say that like you might be getting a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit, you know, uh, kind of like floating through a portal, I think is a little bit of the closest like sensation that I would say. And then you're traveling through this light and then you arrive at your dream place. Um, I offer um, just lots of questions about that place as well. I'm going to have on my Substack for this episode, I think I will actually have the full script written out of what the dream place meditation is going to be, just so that you can kind of see like what are the steps. That just feels like that would be a nice thing to do for people. Um, so yeah, and I also just want to say that at various points throughout the meditation, I'm going to offer points for people to like diverge or like, you know, like if I just think that like this is a journey, not a destination, and it's like, hey, we're just traveling down this highway, there's going to be exit ramps. Like if you just want to hang out in the control room of the mind the entire time and you don't want to continue down the stairway into the nature place and beyond, then just hang out in the control room and like just go to sleep there or do whatever it is you need to do there. Like just tinker around with if like that's what you want to do, like, oh my gosh, enjoy. I'm so glad I could bring you there. If you want to spend the entire time just hanging out in the nature place and you don't even want to meet your competent protector yet, oh my gosh, great. I love that for you. If you just want to kick it with your competent protector the entire time, fantastic. You don't actually have to go to your dream place. Like again, every step, like these are just options these are invitations that I'm providing and you can say no to any of them. Um, so yeah, uh, I will a couple different times say like, and you can just like ignore what I'm saying and just stay here. Um, so I will just say that, like, I think for now, my plan is that at the very end, I'm going to leave you in the dream place with just some very, very light, gentle cueing to get you to come out of it. Again, this dream place really, I mean, I only have ever done it for my kids before they go to sleep. Like I've never like just done it for them like for 2 in the afternoon kind of like relaxation exercise. And I recognize that I'm putting this thing out there into the world that people might want to kind of have it as just like a little power nap in the middle of their day. Um, so you might want to set an alarm if you really like have to wake up at a certain time. Um, Unless people tell me like, unless I get a lot of people that say that they, want to have a version of this that has a little bit more of a forceful wake up where I actually, my voice, I should say, like, my voice is going to be like, pretty calm and pretty slow and pretty light. And just as if you're sleeping, like, I'll be talking in that kind of prosody and cadence and all of that. So I'm not going to be the super animated, and now you are awake and you're feeling great and you're ready to face the world. And because, for the people who are wanting this before bed, I don't want to be like necessarily waking anybody up with like reanimating my voice. So it is my plan as of right now that at least the very first iteration of this meditation is going to be like, I'm dropping you off and I'm kind of like letting you kind of be there such that like if you're kind of like already not listening, you get a little bit more of just my vocalization to just kind of keep you afloat a little bit, or like kind of help you deepen into relaxation. But for those of you that are like, okay, actually, like your subconscious might be protecting you from actually falling asleep, perhaps. And then you'll be able to hear my words being like, okay, and now we're ready to leave. And again, it's going to continue to be that kind of sleepy prosody. But my words will be like the invitation to leave, will be like just a little gentle pull out. But you might want to give yourself like, just a couple of minutes and to make sure that, you can have the conversations you need to have and, um, you know, uh, operate any heavy machinery. Maybe don't plan on it like immediately after. Throw some water on your face or do some jumping. Like, I don't know. You'll figure it out. Again, you're the expert on yourself, and I trust that your subconscious is going to do just a great job of protecting you. Um, let's see. I have pretty much written out my meditation, and I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of credit where credit is due. Again, I've said, um, I mean, anybody who's familiar with Carmen Spaniola's work on the Numinous Network will probably hear this the next podcast episode, which is the meditation, and be like, oh wow, this feels a lot like Carmen's. In which case, wow, I hope it does. I love Carmen's. There are definitely some phrases of hers. That have just always been really helpful for me in my own. So of course they would show up with my kids. So I even just like the take a nice deep breath that lifts your chest and send it all the way down. That is a phrase that I pulled that that I guess like I've extracted. I'm using it. It's a great one. I also use the phrase, we're going to proceed as though. And so we're going to just like proceed as though we're going to like kind of suspend our disbelief. We're going to proceed as though these things are possible. Um, there could be others. But another phrase that came to mind is, when you connect with the light, I say, like that this light knows who you really are and what you're made of, and that through this light, you're going to travel through time, space, and any dimension necessary. And that those phrases have very much been helpful in getting in my own trance journeys. So I use them with my kids, and I just want to make sure that I'm like, I mean, again, I'm not a certified hypnotherapist, so like everything I know is like kind of a combination of like what I've picked up on other people. Um, yeah, and then when you arrive in your dream place, I say, and you are there now. And so we'll like take a moment to like really take that in. Um, also if for the sake of transparency, um, you know, when you're kind of just hanging out in the dream place, I just kind of say a few affirmations. Um, One of them is actually a bioakumalafe quote. Let's see, I think it was fall of 2023. I did the We Will Dance with Mountains with bioakumalafe. I will link to him in the show notes as well. But one of the things he often says is, in or he's quoted a lot I think it's like one of those it's a phrase that pays of his. I think I've even like been in spaces where he almost like makes fun of himself for like how often he says this, but he says, in these urgent times, we must slow down. And so if I am convincing you of anything, if I'm trying to trick your subconscious into anything, these are the messages I'm giving your subconscious in your most receptive states. I'm giving you permission to be your authentic self. I say that you can respond to hard things with your softness. I say, in these urgent times, we must slow down. I affirm that a better, more just, and loving future is possible, that you are the expert on your life and only you can liberate yourself. And then I just ask, like, what becomes possible when you do? What do you need? What practices will help you? So again, like, this meditation is in service of your inner work that becomes the outer change that serves the collective change, that is the collective imagination, that is liberation. That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. And it can literally look as simple as radical rest, and as like, vibrant as, connecting with, ancestors and spirit guides. And, just like in the dream productions, when Riley has like that lucid dream with everybody in the dream productions world, like it's your playground. Practice makes you accident prone. We are just intentionally shifting our consciousness at will. That feels complete. So, yeah, stay tuned for the next one. I will say, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really think that this will make the actual meditation just land a little bit better, that you'll just you understand what a competent protector is. You know what you're expecting. Your subconscious is already primed for it. You kind of know what you're getting into a little bit. Always helps. I will say that free week on the Numinous Network, I believe this podcast episode is coming out on May 26th, which is the new moon in Gemini. And so if you are listening to this in like the early days, like this episode has just been released, I will direct you to the Numinous Network, where Carmen Spaniola is offering a free week, you guys, an entire free week on her Numinous Network, where you can check out any of her resources on, attachment and contact nutrition, or her work on hypnotherapy and all of her different trance and meditation journeys, the True Prosperity Program, which I know she talked about a little bit in our last episode together, where we talked about season 2 of Severance. And she's got, oh my gosh, she's got attachment jams. She's got like I said this on social media the other day, like if you have listened to my podcast and you've enjoyed it, like you have then enjoyed Carmen Spaniola's work, because my podcast up until this point, and probably for the very distant future, is really just an integration and application of a lot of the work that she has done and that she's leading on the Numinous Network. So please, oh my gosh, please hang out with me in the Numinous Network for free for a week. You will have to like subscribe to it, but she will send you like a reminder email before you get charged, being like, hey, if you don't want to be charged, you better cancel now. So she really, really, really like, I don't know, like walks the walk of like anti-capitalism. Like she does not want you to be like, unconsensually like paying her money that you don't intend to, if you really do just want to check it out. I've been a member there for 4 years, y'all, and I'm not leaving anytime soon. Again, I'm a very privileged white lady. It's like I'm happy to support what feels like just really a meaningful body of work in the world. That has been really helpful for me, that I have, integrated and applied in really fun ways, where I'm like doing dream place meditations for my kids at bedtime, and like, now I have like a memento mori practice, and I'm putting it out as a podcast. So anyway, would love to see you at the Numinous Network. And if you have any questions, comments about the Numinous Network or about the podcast that maybe I didn't cover in this particular episode, feel free to reach out to me on Substack or stonerstorywitch@gmail.com. And with that, I will leave you with my quote from Rev Angel Kyoto Williams, who says, "Love and justice are not two. Without interchange, there can be no outer change, And without collective change, no change matters.